Hey book readers! Ever wanted to see the world through someone or something else's eyes? Rather than going to the nearest medical lab and stealing a jar of eyes, check out this list of 7 books. First up is 15 Dogs by Alexis. The gods Hermes and Apollo make a bet. Apollo believes that if any animal was as intelligent as humans, they'd die unhappy. So they make 15 dogs at a vet clinic smart, forever answering the question, I wonder what my dog is thinking. Being written mostly from a dog's point of view, there's a lot to smell and cock your head at, but it's much more than that. The book touches on deeper topics like individuality versus group dynamics, growth versus stagnation, and of course, the relationship between obliviousness and happiness. Dog people will love it, and crazy cat ladies might even come around to a more pooch-friendly outlook. And of course, this book will leave you wondering, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Next is Flatland by Edwin A. Abbott. This was written all the way back in 1884, and it's only 96 pages long. The book is narrated by a square, like the shape, yeah, as he explains the two-dimensional world of Flatland. He encounters a line from Lineland and tries to understand a sphere from the 3D world of Spaceland. Sure, it's not the most entertaining story about expanding your worldview. However, it does have a unique angle. Flatland really comes to life in your mind, giving your brain a mental workout as you visualize different things described from a 2D point of view. Oh, if only your 8th grade geometry teacher could see you now. Reading this reminded me a bit of A Bug's Life, where we zoom in on a small-scale world. This book will leave you wondering, when was the last time I used a protractor? Next is When the English Fall by David Williams. What if a massive solar storm caused civilization to fall apart? Modern society would collapse, but some might thrive, like the Amish. When it happens in this novel, however, the English, or the Amish word for non-Amish people, are starting to impact a peaceful Pennsylvania community. Written from the point of view of an Amish farmer named Jacob, the book explores the question, how will these nonviolent people defend themselves against those who are willing to do harm in order to survive? I was drawn in by the premise, and the one experience I had touring an Amish community in Pennsylvania back in the day, when, yes, I took my video camera and tried to steal a man's soul by videoing him. Sorry. This reminded me a bit of another book I read a while ago called Moon of the Crusted Snow by Watership Down. Probably not pronouncing that right. Moon of the Crusted Snow is a post-apocalyptic thriller that features a group of Anishinaabe people in Canada. Power goes out and a cell service dies. I'll link to its Goodreads page below. And this book will leave you wondering, how can I make more Amish friends and add them to my post-apocalyptic squad? Many of you are probably familiar with the next book I'm going to recommend, which is Room by Emma Donoghue. This is the most well-known book on the list. Written from the perspective of 5-year-old Jack, who has been taken captive with his mom in a small room for his entire life. Yeah, it takes a little while to get used to the voice of this young kid, but once you do, the book really chugs along. One of the things this book explores in depth, obviously, is the love between a mother and a son. It's heartbreaking and heartwarming all at once as you start to piece the story together and begin to understand what's going to happen next. There's amazing detail and drama for a book that takes place in such a small area. It's reminiscent of another book I read called Trophy by Michael Griffith, in which almost the entire novel takes place as the main character is crushed to death, yes, crushed to death, by a stuffed grizzly bear that's fallen on him. I'll link to the Goodreads of that one down below as well. And Room will leave you wondering, what's the deal with the tiny house movement? Another book with unique perspective that many people have probably heard of is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. This novel is told from the perspective of Christopher, a brave, autistic teenage boy who's trying to solve the mysterious death of a neighborhood dog. Some of the things that make this book unique is that there are only prime number chapters. Math problems, diagrams, and more unique details that help you get inside Christopher's head as the novel goes along. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, it'll make you see the world in a whole new way as you cheer for Christopher like crazy. Yay! The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is similar in ways to Flowers for Algernon, which many of you have probably read. It's a classic story by Daniel Keyes, and if you haven't read it, you need to add it to your queue as soon as possible. This book will leave you wondering, prime numbers are really cool, aren't they? Next, there's Legion, a short and sweet book by Brandon Sanderson. Yes, Brandon Sanderson dials it back a notch from the gargantuan 1,200-page Stormlight archive books to write this quick 88-page read. I guarantee he just wrote this like during a Tuesday lunch break. He was probably eating a club sandwich and thought, hey, This sandwich has a lot of stuff in it. What if I created a character with lots of different characters in it? 30 minutes later, he had it rubber stamped by his editor and on the printing press. The main character, Stephen leads, is a detective with multiple personalities or hallucinations, depending on how you see it. He uses each of these different hallucinations, each with different skills and quirks, to help solve the mystery of a camera that takes photos of the past in this detective-style novella. And the hallucinations talk to one another for some clever and funny interactions. I'd say it's part Sherlock Holmes and part Split, the movie with James McAvoy by M. Night Shyamalan. There's deduction, introspection, and a whole bunch of different characters that all reside in this one man. It'll leave you wondering, why can't the private investigator who's tracking down my long-lost twin brother work as quickly as this book does? And last but not least is Watership Down by Richard Adams, another classic. I didn't read this book until I was an adult because, honestly, the title confused me. I thought it would be about a shipwreck. Kind of sounds like Black Hawk Down, Olympus Has Fallen, or something along those lines. And even if you've read it before, but don't remember it completely, you may not remember why that's the title. You're most likely familiar with Watership Down as it's one of the classic Animal POV books, with a group of brave, clever rabbits as its main characters. They're searching for a new home and have to overcome a lot of obstacles to find one. It sounds fairly simple, but the characters themselves, the rabbits, have great personalities that make it work. This has definite Odyssey vibe. It's an epic story with constant challenges involving bigger and badder beasts. Odysseus trying to get back home versus bunny heroes trying to find a new one. This one will leave you wondering, what if someone used the same title for a book about the sinking of the Titanic with a daring jellyfish as its narrator? Oh. There you have it. 7 books that might help you see this crazy old world in a new way. Remember to like and subscribe. Happy reading.